Hey, it's the D.B.S.B.F, and we're back with some more NieR Replicant, and on part 3 of the Kaine backstory. We listened to the sound of cracked environment and stared at that black object on her plate. She'd been fishing around the wooden desk for a good 10 minutes, ignoring the bemused stare of her grandmother. Finally, she summoned her courage and gave the object a brief sniff. A sharp, bitter scent flew up her nostrils and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust. Grandma, I can't believe you want me to eat a bug. The woman threw some more wood under the cooking pot and snorted. It's no bug, you fool girl, it's a berry. Why the hell would I be feeding you bugs? Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug, said Kaine. I think it's burnt or something because it smells terrible. With that, Kaine held her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. Oh yeah, that's terrible, all right. Why, you little brat, laughed the old woman. Look at the sass on you. You've been spending too much time with me, and that's a fact. 5 years had passed since the moment when Kaine's grandmother saved her from the bullies. As is often the way with two stubborn people, their relationship had grown in fits and starts, but moved forward all the same. Meals that used to be somber affairs were now filled with laughter and hurled abuse in equal measure. Kaine could not remember a time when she had been happier. As the years went by, Kaine started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities. Her grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day. She could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. And so this morning found Kaine lacing up her work boots with a breakfast of burnt berry rolling through her belly. Where are you going today? Asked Grandma suddenly. Kaine looked up, surprised. The old woman rarely asked for specifics anymore. Well, I was going to check out the kelma tree and see if they were ripe. I thought we could make some jam or something. Oh, and I'm going to pick up some flagstones, so I need to take the wheelbarrow. Flagstones? What the hell for? Kaine stared at her grandmother and held out an arm and swept it around their home. Constructed mostly of cloth, rope and rubble, the old place sagged like a boxer in the final round. Grandma, a dying cat could chew through this house. We're going to build a stone wall so we have some protection. The old woman laughed, exposing her toothless grin to the world. God damn, girl. If a bunch of thieves want to ransack this old place, let them come. We got nothing worth stealing anyway. I'm not worried about thieves, I'm worried about shades. People saw one west of the village yesterday. The old woman tilted her head and stared at her granddaughter. Oh shoot, I don't know why you have to do it today. We can worry about it some other... Grandma, no. If I don't get to the kelma trees, we won't eat tonight. You know that. A confused expression passed across the old woman's face. For a moment, she was a small child lost at a carnival. Yes, she said after a bit. Yes, of course you're right. I'm sorry, honey. Lately, it seems my mind didn't finish the thought. Instead, walking over to her nightstand and gently taking the wreath of lunar tears from the drawer. The flower's petals had aged to a brilliant whiteness, and Kaine thought it was more beautiful now than the day she first received it. You're going to be a true woman soon, Grandma said as she placed the flower on the girl's hair. So that means less chatter about shades and building defensive walls, and more talk about how beautiful you've become. Annoyed, Kaine reached up to remove the garland, but the look on her grandmother's face stopped her hand. You're a beautiful thing, said the old woman, and there ain't another like you in all the world. I'm very proud of you. Okay, Grandma, that's enough compliments for one day. Shut your mouth on you. Where did that come from? Gee, I wonder. Teach you to sass me, girl, yelled Grandma. Suddenly, she lurched forward and grabbed Kaine by the ears, pulling her around the room with a crazed grin on her face. Grandma, yelled Kaine in a quaking voice. Grandma, stop it! What the hell? The old woman stared at her and blinked, and slowly held her wrinkled hand out as if it was the first time she'd ever seen them. Oh Lord, I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry, girl. Sometimes my mind just... Kaine thought the look on her grandmother's face was the most heartbreaking thing she'd ever seen. Listen, she began. Maybe I should stay home after all. No, I won't have you stay here to keep an eye on an old codger like me. You go get your fruit and your ball and whatnot. I'll be fine. When you come back, I'll have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you. Kaine rolled her eyes, then kissed her grandmother on the forehead and made ready to depart, trying desperately to ignore the worry that was gnawing at the wall of her heart. Kaine could feel the old woman's eyes watching her as she moved down the path. Turn around, don't turn around, she told herself. But in the end, the temptation was too great. She spun on her heel for one final look and saw a small, bent woman standing in front of a ramshackle hut with a sad expression on her face. God, she looks so old now. But the wind could reach down and just carry her away. Kaine worried about her grandmother all day, causing her work to suffer. What little fruit she could collect was tossed carelessly into the wheelbarrow, and she only found a couple of stones before losing interest in the project. Finally, as dusk approached, she decided to call it a day. Cursing herself for the lack of focus, Kaine pushed the nearly empty wheelbarrow back down the path. As she crested the final hill, she suddenly froze in place. The wheelbarrow fell from her fingertips and collapsed on its side, sending a few pieces of wrinkled brown fruit rolling down the hill. Her gaze was transfixed by a thick black cloud that hovered just ahead. Tracing its path with a finger, Kaine suddenly felt her stomach knot in on itself. Oh no. No, gods, no! Her grandmother's house was ablaze, the flame licking up as if trying to touch the sky itself. Grandma! Grandma! Kaine ran, then, faster than she ever moved in her life. Once she tripped on a stone and went sprawling into the rocky ground. She leapt to her feet and continued running, unmindful of the blood that spilled from her wounded hands and knees. As she got closer and closer, Kaine's mind began to race in time with her footfalls. It's too dark. It's too dark. Not just fire. It can't be fire. Too much smoke. Gotta save her. Gotta save her. She burst into the front yard and came to a sudden halt, her worst suspicion confirmed. The smoke from the fire was mingling with the thick, inky blackness of an enormous shade. The massive creature supported itself on 3 twisted feet and achieved balance through means of a large, armoured tail. Scales, horns and claws sprouted from its body in a random, chaotic pattern, giving it the appearance of a lizard designed by some insane god. Seeing Kaine, it let out a roar and flicked its tail, sending small whirlwinds spinning around the yard. For a moment, the creature retreated into a shimmering, inky blackness, as if her mind was unable to comprehend that such a thing could actually exist. But then the smell hit her, a blend of rotted meat and excrement, and the horror became real once more. The creature bellowed again, and this time Kaine responded with a scream of her own. Alright, you bastard, she thought as her scream echoed off the high cliffs around them. It's you or me. Let's go. Shade eyed Kaine with bemused interest, and it began looking from her to the house and back again, as if urging her to look at the destruction it had so gleefully wrought. With dread building in her heart, Kaine glanced towards the house. Through the smoke and flames, she spotted a small figure struggling to escape the ruins. Grandma! At the sound of her voice, the old woman began waving frantically. She's alive! Thought Kaine. Alive! Kaine's legs sprang to life as she raced across the yard towards the flaming wreckage of the house. Before she could advance more than a few steps, the shade opened its mouth and let out a roar powerful enough to uproot trees and send them flying. The blast sent Kaine tumbling through the air before smashing her against the rocky earth. Stars danced in front of her eyes as she tried to remember how her legs worked. Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Now! As Kaine struggled to her feet, the shade stomped toward the house and pinned her grandmother to the ground to her fall. The old woman struggled to move, tore from her stomach, but she might well have been pushing a mountain. She coughed briefly, sending a small spray of blood into the air, and collapsed to the ground, her energy spent. Kaine lurched to her feet, only to fall back to earth with a gasp. Her ankles were on fire. One or both of them were surely broken. Ignoring the pain that streamed through her body, she began dragging herself across the ground, leaving a drunken trail of dust and blood in her wake. Grandma, hold on, just a little longer. Grandma's face was turning blue, her eyes rolling back until only the whites were exposed. Kaine pulled herself across the ground with maddening slowness, the distance seeming to increase with every second that passed. The shade glanced between the two women and flicked out his tongue, his giant mouth turning up at the corners. Short, panting breaths belched from somewhere deep inside his core. laughing at us. He had no idea how much a mindless creature could experience emotion. There could be no doubt the Shade was taking joy in their suffering. Yeah, I see your plan. The Shade moved its claw slightly, allowing Grandma to breathe again. It was clearly keeping her alive, only to snuff out her life when Kaine was close enough to touch her. Kill this bastard. Summoning all her strength, Kaine rose to her feet. There was a sickening snap from her right ankle. As the foot twisted backwards, she forced it from her mind and began to hobble towards the monster. Pulling a small knife from the pouch at her waist, she leapt on the floor, pinned her grandmother, and plunged the weapon deep. "Give her back!" she screamed. "Give her back to me!" It was like stabbing a rock. After a few swipes, the knife broke at the hilt with a dull snap. The Shade panted laughter again and raised its tail and sent it rushing towards the air. Through the air, toward the young girl that latched to its foot. Kaine never had a chance. The tail struck her square in the chest and sent her crashing into the burning wreckage of the home. She lay on the ground with blood pouring from multiple wounds. A small, weak voice spoke up. "Kaine?" And his vision blurred. She forced herself to focus on the sound. Finally, her eyes cleared enough for her to make out her grandmother's hand reaching out to her through the smoke. "Grandma! Kaine, you gotta run. You can't. That's this one." Kaine grabbed her hands and held on with all her strength. "Grandma, come on. We have to go." The old woman coughed loudly. One of her hands, slick with blood, slipped from Kaine's grasp and thumped to the ground below. "Grandma, no, no!" She said, "Run, goddamn it! You have to live. You have to get through." The thought would stay forever unfinished. Before she could say another word, the Shade's clawed foot descended, smashing through the remains of the roof and down upon the shattered figure of the old woman. Blood oozed from gaps in the creature's toes as a terrible, putrid smell assaulted Kaine's nose once again. She stared at the foot, dumbfounded, convinced that what she was seeing could not possibly be real. When the creature finally lifted its appendage, all that remained underneath was a twisted, unrecognizable mass of rubble and red. Grandmother was gone. Kaine blinked, trying to feel the hands which had been in hers just a moment before. For a fleeting instant, she could remember the warmth of that embrace, the trembling of the fingers. Then the sensation drifted away on the breeze and was gone. Memories flashed through Kaine's mind, one after the other, faster and faster, until they became a meaningless jangle of noise. Kaine screamed then, a thunderous sound that echoed off the cliffs and seemed to roll away forever. Shade eased forward, black ichor pouring from its mouth and dissolving into smoke on the ground below. The earth shook with every step as it crept towards its prey. Kaine's body slowly rose as if controlled by a mad puppet master. Her arms and legs were bent at impossible angles. Her head lolled dangerously to the side. Yet somehow she managed to stand. Staring at the Shade, her eyes began to glow like a deep red fire. The creature, so confident just moments before, took a slow, hesitant step backwards, trying to discern if this broken human could possibly pose a threat. Kaine seized the moment, laughing like a mad woman. She leapt into the air and plunged the shattered hilt of her knife deep into the leg of the Shade. The Shade shook Kaine off like a fly, sending her crashing to the earth once again. Her chest rose and fell slowly, as if a great weight were resting on it. Moist sounds of pain echoed through her mind. Something warm and thick oozed from her ear. Is that blood? I think it is. I think I'm bleeding to death. No, can't die. Grandma told me to live. Deep inside Kaine's mind, something finally broke. The sound, the pain, the smoke and flames, all of it faded away until all that remained was a single incantation repeated over and over again. Kill it. Kill it. Kill it. Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Kill it, 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 kill it. Kill it now! As the spark that was Kaine slowly began to flicker and die, he felt her desire to kill, her desire to live, blend into one. Distance between heartbeats grew longer and longer. Hello?
The beast approaches. Oh, I know.
And this again. How about this? It's the angry seaman. No. Never been a fan of the Navy anyway.
What anger this creature must have. How did it even survive these past 5 years?
I'm not gonna let this happen again. It dies today!
My sword feels lighter. It's not the blade, but the skill of the user. Strike it down.
You got fried. Kentucky Fried Team. Not a very popular restaurant chain. Oh, fun. He looks peaceful. Kaine's dreams encounter. Gently, weakly, softly. Shade, sure that its tormentor is dead, turned and stomped off toward the horizon, stopping along the way to bellow one final roar. Kill it. Shamed beyond imagining, Kaine tried to turn her head to the side, but only succeeded in coughing up a huge gout of blood. Getting difficult to see, and only after a moment of fierce concentration did she realize that her left eye was gone. Laughing to herself, she turned her remaining eye to the ruins of her home, and noticed a ragged stump of arm resting a few feet away. Yeah, that's mine, he thought with a mad giggle. This is going to make clapping a real bitch. Ha! Cried a sudden voice from the depths of her mind. Finally going to die, are you? Well, you had it coming. Go to hell, Demo, she thought at the unseen assailant. Go to hell before I pluck out your eyes and feed them to a dog. The voice of her childhood terror evaporated into smoke, only to be replaced by another, more recent voice. Hold still, said the apothecary, materializing from the ruins like a ghost. I want to draw you the way you can live forever. No, stop. Don't want to live forever. To die right here. See, he said quietly. Well, if that's what you want. The spectral shopkeeper fluttered in and out of existence for a moment, and produced a piece of paper and sketched quickly. After a few seconds, he turned the page to Kaine and smiled. Since you rejected my offer, I decided to draw someone else. It was a picture of her grandmother, real as life. Kaine opened her mouth to thank the man, but stopped as the picture began to blacken in the middle. Before she could say anything, dozens of multi-legged insects began to swarm across the image, tearing at it with sharpened pincers. Stop, no, don't hurt that picture. Kaine reached out with her remaining arm and waved futilely at the air. To her surprise, the insects fell off the picture to the ground below, where they vanished into tiny black tendrils of smoke. Relieved, Kaine turned her good eye back to the picture, only to open her mouth in a silent scream. The sketch now showed her grandmother as she truly was, a smashed, unrecognizable lump of nothing. The apothecary smiled, and broke into a jolly dance. See that? He cried as he danced his jig. It's perfect now. She looks just like you. Ha cha cha cha. Like that? Oh God. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Drowning in despair, Kaine laid her head back in the mud and smoke of her ruined house and waited for the end to come. Just before she let everything go, an unfamiliar voice began whispering in her ear. Ain't you got a wish, sunshine? The voice was vulgar and fierce at the same time, as if insanity had somehow found a way to take form. Kaine wanted to scream as the voice crawled under her skin. Her lungs refused to work. You know, a wish, like a prayer or something. Why don't you get on your knees and start praying to heaven? Please, invisible man in the sky, save me, save me! Ha 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 ha!